And we continue at 1:06 in the afternoon, the John Phillips Show. Mr. Randy Wangs in Culver City.
John, we're just a few weeks away from the end of election season to find out who's replacing Sheng Tao in the city of Oakland. Barbara Lee sat down for an interview with something called Brotherhood News and was asked why she thinks she should be the next mayor of Oakland.
I can bring people together to champion our issues, and that's something that I think Oakland needs now. The effort to a person who can serve as mayor to bring people together.
I can bring people together because I can bring people together.
There you go.
What does that mean?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Quite frankly.
800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. It is our pleasure to welcome our next guest to the program. He is the founder of Neighborhoods Together Oakland. He's also the host of the Gotham Oakland podcast, which you can download wherever you download your favorite podcasts. You can follow him on X at Seneca Speaks 21 and get him online at recallshengtao.org. Seneca Scott, welcome.
Thank you, John. It's a pleasure to be back.
Well, thank you so much for stopping by. Let's talk about the race for mayor in Oakland. Of course, Sheng Tao, the former mayor, was recalled from office by the people of Oakland, thanks to you and your organization and all the people who helped you with those efforts. And now Oakland gets to start with a new mayor, a clean slate. Two candidates are really emerging as the favorites in this race. Lauren Taylor, who is a former member of the city council, who should have beaten Sheng Tao last time around if Sheng didn't allegedly bend the rules to launch illegal mailers against him at the last minute, violating all kinds of spending limits at the city level. And Lauren Taylor is going up against Barbara Lee, the longtime congresswoman from Oakland. Lauren Taylor supported the recall of Sheng Tao. Barbara Lee opposed it. So let me ask you this, Seneca. Should anyone be elected mayor of Oakland who supported former mayor Sheng Tao and opposed the recall?
Well, that's a Draymond Green alley hoop right there, John. Absolutely not. We need to make the recalls count and not elect Sheng Tao 2.0.
Are you surprised that Barbara Lee did not support the recall of Sheng Tao, given the fact that she was clearly planning on running for mayor of Oakland should the recall be successful long before the results came in?
I don't know if that's exactly the narrative. I think they hit it with the run when the progressives realized that Sheng Tao would, in fact, be recalled after her FBI raid and just the overall sentiment of the city and polling. And they begged her to run, promising her it would be an easy coronation. I think that Barbara Lee is probably very pissed off at those people at this moment because it's not going to be an easy coronation. She's actually slightly behind in a poll after one of the most dramatic political comebacks in Oakland's history, where Lauren Taylor has come back from over 20 points down in just 2 months. And so, yeah, she didn't play, but now here's the issue. How are we going to bring together Oakland when you're disrespecting the most successful election in the history of the city? 87,000 voters voted for the recall. We're not talking about, when you're talking about an election for a person, for a political office, there have never been that many votes for something in the history of the city. There's never been a recall in Oakland's history. And you shun those people. You disrespect retired Judge Brenda Harbin Forte, who's a longtime friend of Barbara Lee, who implored her not to weigh in on the recall. Now, Barbara Lee has a history of not weighing in on local races. And all of a sudden, the progressives, in their panic, because they are in a panic right now, the Democrats are in a panic around the country. And you're seeing that manifested right here in Barbara Lee's candidacy. And so she's not going to be coronated. She very well likely lose. And the next 2 weeks will tell the tale.
One of the accomplishments, I guess I could say, of Barbara Lee's is that she has been able to survive in politics for a very long period of time, not only as the congresswoman from Oakland, but before that as the state senator, as the state assemblywoman, as the aide to Ron Dellums, who is the former congressman who represented Oakland. But you look at long-time members of Congress who have then gone back home and served in executive office. And it's hard to find a success story. We know that Ron Dellums came back and served as mayor of Oakland. That was a complete disaster. But it's not just him. Look at what we're dealing with right now in Los Angeles with Karen Bass and the response to the fires. Look what happened in San Diego when Bob Filner, who was the longtime congressman from San Diego, came back and became mayor. He didn't even finish a term. He was forced to resign. Up in Alaska, Frank Murkowski had been in the United States Senate for many years. Everyone thought he was this master parliamentarian. He came back and served as governor of Alaska. After one term, they ran him out of town. I think he lives here in California now. What evidence is out there that suggests being a longtime member of Congress is something that would give you a skill set to be mayor of a city with a lot of problems?
Absolutely none. Let me start by saying this, John. The ancestral politics of California have led to extremely unqualified people failing forward into office. So let's just let me start there. Second, Barbara Lee in Congress has been passed over for the congressional leader, whatever, Democratic lead by Hakeem Jeffries. She was snubbed by Gavin Newsom, and she also lost locally to Adam Schiff or whatever. So she hasn't been able to actually submit any type of wins past being able to be carried along by people who use her. Let me talk about Barbara Lee's record, which is one of the top things that she's running on. Now, I have to tell you this. People told me she could do some stuff and she brought a lot of money into Oakland, and I was actually willing to hear her out. And then one day I look and I'm on Barbara Lee's website where she's lying and slandering me and all types of things I'm not. And so I said, you know what, if you tell lies about me, I'm going to tell truths about you. And so I got to digging up her record. Here's the fact. She ranked 218th in Congress in bringing money to her district while ranking number 1 in corporate-sponsored international travel. That's a pretty damning stat. She's just like any other D.C. swamp creature, taking money from Big Pharma, ExxonMobil, PG&E. You name the corporate donor, she's willing to line up and shake her can and take her crumbs. It's absolutely embarrassing to portray her as some kind of iconic progressive leader. There's only one thing, and I will say she does get credit for this because I wasn't for the war either. It is hard to stand alone, and so I'll give her that. But the rest of her record, she didn't do very well. She's been carried along, and she's profited for it. Let me talk about being able to go from Congress to mayor. There are two different functions. Congress is like city council. We have the same issue with city council people becoming mayor. It's a legislative position. Council is a legislative. Congress, my apologies, is a legislative position. Mayor is an executive position. I don't believe she has the chops to make the hard calls when she's beholden to the same special interest in public sector labor unions. She is inheriting the same sycophants that surround her and tell her what to do. And these are the exact same people who led us to Tsingtao. Barbara Lee didn't even bother to change her slogan from Tsingtao's One Oakland slogan. This is embarrassing. And Oakland better wake the heck up and vote this lady. I'm sorry, not vote for this lady and vote for anybody else but Barbara Lee.
We're speaking with Seneca Scott, who you can follow on X at Seneca Speaks 21. Seneca, let's go back and talk about the former Mayor Tsingtao for a second, because she has been unusually silent for a while. She is a mayor who, even when she was engrossed in scandal, was willing to go on and sit down for all the TV interviews, go on the podcast. She loved to hear her own voice, loved to see her face on television, and spoke at times when she probably should have been quiet. I guess if you're her attorney, you would want her to be quiet. But now that she's facing federal charges, she hasn't been showing up on television. She hasn't been showing up on radio. She hasn't been showing up on the podcast. What's going on right now with Tsingtao?
I can't tell you, but I will say she serves as a cautionary tale for anyone who disrespects very I would say powerful, but more than that, needed movement in Oakland. The movement that we called the DA of Alameda County, Pam Price, and that we called Oakland's Mayor Tsingtao did so on very little money and resources. We did so without sending out a single political mailer in support of those recalls. It was grassroots, and we play for careers over here. So if you cross people of Oakland People need to know that you can and will go to jail if we have anything to say about it. So I think that she maybe finally realized that she is going down like that. And she better shut the heck up and make her deal with the feds and move on with her life.
She's looking at over 90 years in prison. What do people in Oakland think she's going to get? Do they think she's going to spend the rest of her life there, or do they think she's going to try to cut a deal?
Everyone knows they're going to cut a deal. Come on, John. What do you think?
Yeah, I can't see her going to prison for 90 years.
Nor does she probably deserve to. She's not someone I hate. She has a child. She was used as a useful idiot. She was morally compromised. And let me say, the most important compromise that you make in elected office for your integrity is the first mistake. That's where it starts. No matter how small, it's a slippery slope from there. And so, I hope that she gets it together and she avoids the rest of it. And I hope she snitches on people further up the trial who really need to go to jail for 95 years. I ain't saying no names.
There is an individual who is cooperating with the government who has agreed to testify against Sheng Tao and against California Waste Solutions. That man was shot at. His house was shot up by gunmen in a car. He retrieved his own gun, went out in the middle of the street, and returned fire. Arrests were made. Those people who are alleged to have committed the crime were let out of jail by the district attorney. And now we're trying to figure out just exactly what happened. They're now saying that they were shot at first by this witness, and they just returned fire because they felt that their lives were threatened. Do you think this was an assassination attempt on a witness?
It's hard to tell with the evidence presented. I do think that it's funny that they were just going home from soccer practice and happened to have guns on them. We all know a soccer practice needs guns, but maybe Oakland is that rough and kids carry guns to and from soccer practice. What do I know? But I do know that Mario Juarez is legitimately afraid for his safety. And he's probably got a lot more to tell that he's letting on. So I can't wait to see what happens next. And it's not just California Waste Solution. Evolutionary Homes. Remember that, John. Evolutionary Homes. When it drops, maybe I can come back and talk about it.
The Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, was widely expected to run for governor this time around. In fact, he was telling people privately that he was running for governor and lining up endorsements, lining up campaign contributions, really trying to get his social network in order for a statewide top-of-the-ticket race. Then, out of nowhere, he talks to Politico and tells Politico that he's taking a pass on running for governor and will instead run for another term as California's Attorney General. He said he's not running for governor because he thinks Kamala Harris is going to jump in the race and clear the field, and that's why he's taking a pass. I've talked to people who are supporters of his who had been talking to him about his run for governor. They say he gave them no tip-off at all that he was bowing out and taking a pass on running for governor. They found out the same way you and I did by reading about it in the paper. What do you make of his decision? Of course, Rob Bonta being the former assemblyman from Oakland.
I think that if Kamala does indeed run for governor, that's probably legitimate. He's probably being completely honest there. They're a cabal, and they have a boss, and they have a hierarchy, and he has to fit in what he fits in. And so if they tell him it's not his turn, he's going to have to sit it out. He's not in control of himself.
So you think that it was legitimately he thought that he couldn't win if Kamala jumped into the race, and it had nothing to do with other issues?
I would say that I don't see any reason that could not be legitimate, but there could be other issues. I do know that Mario Juarez and the Bontas have a close relationship. They shared offices in Oakland. Mario Juarez is extremely adept political. He's got lots of people, very powerful people elected. And so who knows what's going on there? I'm pretty much a spectator in that one, like everyone else, waiting with my popcorn to see what the FBI has found out. And so maybe it is Bonta, but I don't see anything right now that would say that I have any information on, especially since I also do investigative reporting. But we do know that Kamala is considering running. And if that happens, I don't see him running against her. They don't do that in the Democrats anymore.
But you would not be surprised if more bold-faced names got caught up in this.
Oh, not at all.
Do you think when the trial begins that this is going to generate national attention, or do you think it's just going to be something that's covered here in California?
It depends if somebody else more powerful than Sheng Tao is indicted. We do know that the city councilman from San Leandro, Brian Azevedo, has had his house searched by the FBI. He had the same type of connection to Evolutionary Home, as well as another person, I forget her name and her elected position, but who also was raided, I think Contra Costa County, who also has ties to the Evolutionary Home scheme. And she also was raided by the FBI. So I think it has to do with the whole housing model, evolutionary home stuff. I think that's what's going to be the big one, not California waste solution.
As someone who has covered Sheng Tao as a journalist and dealt with her as a resident of Oakland and an activist in Oakland as long as you have been there, knowing her as well as you do you think she's the type that's going to go down with the ship, or do you think she's the type that's going to rat out all her friends?
Oh, she's going to snitch on everyone, and she rightfully should. Save yourself, Sheng Tao. Save yourself. You're very young. You have a whole life in front of you.
Seneca Scott, founder of Neighbors Together Oakland. He's also the host of the Gotham Oakland podcast, which you can download wherever you download your favorite podcasts. And you can follow him on X at Seneca Speaks 21. And Seneca, starting on April the 1st, we're going to be live in the Bay Area, noon to 3 on KSFO.
Oh, I would love to join you anytime you want. If schedule allows, I'll be there.
All right. Seneca Scott, thanks so much for stopping by.
Thank you, John.
It's the John Phillips Show. If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, now that we've hit the halfway point of today's show, if you want to continue listening to us after we sign off at 3, that's easy to do.
Let's say you want to brush up on all your knowledge about Sheng Tao.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Search for The John Phillips Show on Apple Podcasts.
And he said absolutely.
Or search for The John Phillips Show on iHeart.
Absolutely.
Or search for The John Phillips Show on Spotify.
Absolutely.
You can do a Google on the YouTube. Anywhere you get a podcast, most likely you will be able to find Sheng Tao segments of The John Phillips Show.
And we still got our Oakland A's, baby.
They moved to Sacramento.
And starting on April the 1st, the people of Oakland and everywhere else in the Bay Area can listen to us live on the radio.
We could take a call from this guy.
It's Wild Wild West out here.
We could take a call from this guy.
I said, hell no, baby boy. Let me get up on out of here.
We could take a call from this guy.
Who else do we go call, Superman?
As we go live in the Bay Area starting on Tuesday, April 1st, we'll be live simulcasting every day in Southern California and Northern California, live on 790 KABC Los Angeles and live on 810 KSFO in the Bay Area, live and statewide every single day, taking your phone calls and covering California only the way that we can.
It's a lot of crime now.
And we'll be live up there for the mayoral election in Oakland and the trial of Sheng Tao.
Oh, boy.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I just checked during the break because the Angels are playing the White Sox today for opening day. First at bat, Mike Trout is hit by a pitch right in the hand. How many bones does the human have in the hand? So this is how we're going to start the season, huh? I'm sure it'll be all green lights from here on out. All right. Well, while Mayor Karen Bass is in Sacramento asking the people of Orange County and San Bernardino County and Riverside County and Ventura County in Northern California and San Diego to bail out the city of Los Angeles because they've mismanaged their finances, the city council back home has decided to put their money where their mouth is with illegal aliens and spend more money to protect illegal aliens from deportation.
We don't have money for police and fire, but we have money for this thanks to a motion written by Hugo Soto Martinez.
Yeah, clap that up.
Nobody ever does. Here is KTLA.
Well, the LA City Council is taking new actions aimed at protecting undocumented immigrants from deportation under President Trump's immigration crackdown. But as KCAL's Jeff Nguyen reports, the motions could face legal challenges.
The LAPD kicked us out of the area to protect the ICE operation.
Since late January, there have been resistance efforts against operations by Immigration and Customs Enforcement following.
Isn't that a crime?
Okay, so not only are they going to spend money protecting illegals from deportation, they're going to spend money at the LA City Attorney's Office to lose in court.
Following executive actions from the Trump administration, Matthew Toyama is the managing attorney of the Removal Defense Unit at the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights.
There's a great
How much money does he get from the city?
I'd like to know the answer to that question.
There's a great need for services in Los Angeles.
On Wednesday,
That guy sounds more robotic than Daniel Lurie.
Yeah, no kidding.
For services in Los Angeles.
On Wednesday, the LA City Council approved a package of motions focused on protecting undocumented immigrants, specifically those at risk of deportation.
Aren't most of the ones at risk for deportation the ones who committed crimes?
Yes, but you see, if you were to deport criminal aliens, then you're separating families.
Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez.
Oh, he's Ugo in this piece.
Like Hugo Chavez?
You know, let's criminalize catalytic converters. Let's criminalize copper.
Councilman Hugo Soto.
I can't believe I actually Mitch O'Farrell.
Yeah, if you're Mitch O'Farrell, you put the gate around, was it Echo Park?
Yeah, Echo Park, he put a fence up and then got torched for it by this guy and lost the election.
I'm telling you, you get the government you deserve.
Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez spearheaded the effort.
The spirit is that, you know, we want to continue to say that LA is for everyone.
One motion involves getting businesses to report all federal immigration enforcement activity to the city and inform workers of their rights ahead of potential raids.
How is any of this above board on the federal law?
There's no way this is legal. Zero. I'm not even a lawyer, and I can tell you this is not legal.
KCAL News legal analyst Jessica Levinson says this will be a test on whether cities can force businesses to cooperate.
I think is the bigger question is whether or not this could actually undermine federal immigration law. Cities and localities cannot undermine federal immigration law because of the supremacy clause.
A second motion establishes a citywide Know Your Rights campaign using libraries, the police department, and bus shelters.
That's right. The city's got money for advertising, letting people know that they have rights.
Okay, who's using the libraries at this point besides the homeless? And they don't even use it to find out what the rights that they have are. They use it because they want to look at porn.
A third motion authorized the city to identify money to maintain legal services related to immigration to cover a gap created when the Trump administration froze such funding.
How about the LA City Council focus on the $1 billion budget gap? We don't have money for this.
Oh, they have no interest in that. They want to spend money helping illegals.
However, that proposal went back.
Budgets are priorities, and obviously the LA City Council and Karen Bass's priority is things like this and not making sure the city runs properly. The last thing Sacramento should ever do is bail out the city of Los Angeles.
If you live in another county, or even if you live in LA County but not in LA City, you should make sure that your state assemblyman and state senator know that you do not want any of your tax dollars going to LA to bail them out so they can spend their money on this.
I live in the city of Los Angeles for some reason, and I oppose this.
However, that proposal went back to the Budget Committee for review. The chair of the LA County Republican Party points out the city has a projected $1 billion budget deficit.
For Hugo. Hey, look at this. KTLA did a piece with two different viewpoints.
Well, there's a first.
For Hugo to think that he has extra money somewhere to take care of people who while a sympathetic person would certainly feel for them, this is not the responsibility of the Los Angeles City Council.
We also have to make sure that people are not afraid to go to work, that people are not afraid to send their kids to school.
It is now up to...
Of course, the same nonsensical argument they've been having over and over and over and over and over again with these sanctuary laws, where they say we need all these things because people don't talk to the police. And then they say, well, still people don't talk to the police.
How often do we do crime stories where no one says anything to the cops? People witness crimes occurring. They don't bother to call 911. They don't bother to try to contact the owner of the home, the owner of the business. They don't do anything about it.
Constantly. So what's actually going on with the sanctuary policies that LA has had informally going back to the 70s and now wants to be formally, thanks to Ulysses and Hugo, is it's not protecting the maid, it's not protecting the gardener, it's protecting the people that are wanted by the LAPD because they're not allowed to talk to ICE.
It is now up to city staff to prepare reports on business notification and the Know Your Rights campaign before they go back to the full council for consideration. In downtown LA, Jeff Nguyen, KCAL News.
There's the latest on the LA City Council looking for money to help make sure people in the country illegally don't get deported.
And this is very on brand for Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez, who doesn't want to arrest people for stealing copper wire, who doesn't want to arrest people for stealing your catalytic converters, because those are crimes associated with poverty.
I'm going to point this out as many times as possible in the next 6 months. Hugo is up for re-election in 2026.
Yeah, clap that up.
He represents Hollywood and Echo Park and parts of Silver Lake. If you don't like Hugo, run against him, please.
If you'd like to email the show, you can do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And Randy, you're monitoring the mailbag.
Chuck writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, reacting to the VTA not being able to resume service after the strike because someone stole all the copper wire. Hey, John and Randy, so the union workers go on strike, the criminals steal the wire, then we call another union to replace the copper. Does anyone see a problem here?
And we wonder why we're going broke. Well, we just told you that the city of Los Angeles is going to Sacramento wanting a bailout because they can't balance their books. And when every other municipality and district in California saw Karen Bass go up there with her hand out, they said to themselves, why can't we do that too? And Randy, that's exactly what they're doing in San Diego.
The second largest school district in the state, San Diego Unified, sent a letter to Gavin Newsom pretty much saying what Cecily Mayart Cruz says all the time.
Get that money!
They want Sacramento to make it rain.
Here is Fox 5 in San Diego.
The state's second largest school district, we're talking about San Diego Unified, writing to the governor about the proposed education budget.
And it comes as several districts brace for cuts, with the state facing a budget deficit. Our Delaney White joins us live.
Yeah, Gavin doesn't have any money to spend.
No, and let's not forget, he blew the budget with Medi-Cal. Medi-Cal needs $7 billion more dollars than what we have allocated for it.
And then high-speed rail needs $7 billion more dollars.
That's $14 billion right there.
Our Delaney White joins us live from University Heights with more on that. Delaney.
Yeah, Christina and Phil, that letter includes recommendations for this year's budget, asking the governor to consider the things that are most important to San Diego Unified, including their extended learning programs.
Oh, boy. That sounds like after-school programs.
Yeah, that sounds like money for gang members to me.
It was a realization that there was going to have to be some difficult decisions with California budget.
The 7 largest school districts in California are joining forces and sending a letter to the governor with recommendations for the upcoming year's budget.
Oh, so LAUSD is part of this, too. That's fascinating.
They always have their hand out.
Because LAUSD is broke as well. And it's a contract renewal year. And Johnny, guess who wants a raise?
Does she have a voice like a bird?
We demand higher pay.
No.
She's going to get it.
Of course she's going to get it. And they're going to make Orange County pay for it.
especially given the Los Angeles fires and the cost that's going to happen.
No. Can we all stop blaming everyone's budget shortfall on the fires?
Wait, are they blaming their budget shortfall at San Diego Unified on the LA fires?
San Diego Unified is invoking the LA fires for why they need relief from their budget shortfall.
Oh, those fires are the new COVID.
And then also the uncertainty with closing down the Department of Education, if that does.
Of course.
Okay, that's going to save money. That's going to allow more money to go to the classrooms.
Happen federally. There are some things that are going to be important for us to continue to fund,
including extended learning opportunities for students, the transitional kindergarten program, and special education services. Some of the programs Bagula tells us are most important to San Diego Unified. There are also recommendations surrounding teaching and learning.
There's a few things in Governor Newsom's budget that we want to make sure that we uphold.
Raises for teachers.
They're crying poverty, but none of them are going to take pay cuts. You watch.
None of the administrators will.
And that is money for professional learning and professional development of our teachers, and then also continued.
Wait, what does that mean?
Oh, that's professional development. That's like when you're on the cruise ship and you have a bunch of chiropractors who are there who are getting a certain number of hours in. It's a tax write-off because it's professional enrichment.
And that is money for professional learning and professional development of our teachers, and then also continued literacy and math work.
An adequate cost of living
Wait, shouldn't the regular school budget cover math?
You would think, and special ed.
And then also continued literacy and math work.
An adequate cost of living increase for employees is also included in the request.
Yes, as the state is facing a deficit and every single school district is facing a deficit, unfortunately, it's contract renewal year, and none of that matters because Cecily's going to get her money.
We demand higher pay.
I love the fact that a future raise is part of their current bailout.
Especially in San Diego, I think outside of all 7 of those urban large school districts, it's very expensive to live in San Diego. So we want to make sure that we keep up with the cost of living.
Bagula says she stepped into her current role when there was a very large budget deficit and wanted to ensure that it wouldn't hit classrooms.
The team.
And so the answer is ask Gavin for money?
What do you think Gavin's going to do?
Well, unlike with Karen Bass, he gets no points for bailing out Karen Bass. If he opposes the teacher unions that are obviously supporting these bailouts, that could hurt him.
But he doesn't have an endless supply of money. Wouldn't he have to cut bait on health care for illegals or on the bullet train if he's going to come up with the money for them?
Oh, it's going to be quite a juggling act.
The team came together, valued that, did not touch classrooms, and made significant cuts.
She says they not only managed to get the budget.
This is like what was going on in Oakland, where the budget is massive. There's a massive shortfall there for Oakland Unified. They were supposed to close schools. They didn't close schools.
And now they have huge problems on their horizon.
She says they not only managed to get the budget deficit to 0, but also hit the next few years by a significant amount.
Then why are you asking for a bailout?
Yeah, you should be fine.
So I think
this is like when Gavin presents the budget and he says there's a $70 billion deficit, but this is a balanced budget.
Makes perfect sense.
So I think we've proven to be good taxpayer stewards, making sure that we're making fiscally sound decisions, but we actually need this continued support to offer those extras.
So we need more money, so the budget is not balanced.
Guess what? When you're broke, no bells and whistles and no raises. That's how it works.
Yeah, they're getting the raises.
Probably.
Get that money.
But you got to find the money somewhere else, so who's Gavin going to take it from?